Hi, welcome to this series. My name is Buxton. Today, I would like us to go through now what we call the substructures measurements. That is going to be very comprehensive and very simple, straight to the point. So from today, the long awaited, for those who have been waiting for us to start, where we start doing the actual figures, talking about interpretation of the drawings, and also going straight to doing now the quantities. So today it's the day. Today we are going to start it straight on. So for what we are going to do today, it's going to involve basically the substructures from a simple plan. Of course, I understand that from the request that from one of my viewers, it's noted that we need to go through a simple step of building a bills of quantities from scratch. That means from just a sketch or just from a drawing that has been issued to you as a quantity surveyor. How are you going to build up that bills of quantities from that point? So having learned the rules from the inception, that is when we started this channel, it's important and it's my pleasure that I bring to you now the advanced stage of how those rules are applicable in now the actual real deal of preparation of the bills of quantities. I want to thank you so much for being part of the channel, and I also want to urge you that please make a subscription. Of course, the number is growing and I'm so glad. The number of comments are also okay. So for those who are following and those who are keeping in touch with the daily and frequent updates from this channel, this is the channel that you are going to learn so much. From this channel, definitely you are going to get more than you can get in any other channel, and that's why you need to be here. You need to subscribe so that we get that information right. So welcome to the session, and we are on. So where we'll start today, we'll go straight on. Previously, we had mentioned a summary of the taking off list of the substructures. So from this summary, we just listed the items that needs to be measured. That is a description of the items to be measured. And we also did have a unit for the units. That is now what the rule says. And of course, for later references, in this part, we are not going to touch it for today because we had comprehensively described the units. We had also comprehensively discussed the items that we need to measure. So today is the day when we go into those items, seeing them one by one of which is which and how do we go about them in terms of descriptions and so on. So today we are going to stick to the first principle, and in that manner, that means that we are going to show how you do them on the traditional dimension paper. Remember that in as much as this channel is cutting across through those who still do the traditional dimension papers for exam purpose or any other reason, it's also important to note that these first principles are very crucial. And the reason is, even if you are using the advanced stages or the sophisticated measures to do your estimation, that is for example use of the softwares, it's important that the principle stays or is in better understanding with yourself, because even if the software is stating that it will be working for you everything at first, okay, when you key in everything, but then it still needs that input. It still needs you to command a few parts and the other. So it's important that you have to understand what you are talking about when you talk about site clearance. This is what you mean, and this is how to go about it, and so on. So let's start. For example, this is the plan. This is the plan that has been prepared, and I would like us to use it. So from this plan, there are those parts that are needed, or we'll just like to have the interpretation. Once we've interpreted the plan, then we'll start to measure it straight away. So we'll use the plan. That is what I'm indicating. So this is a simple plan. Of course, you can see there are various dimensions that are attached to it. They are indicated, of course. and I also believe that they are quite clear to see. So from this plan, we'll go through those items of the substructures, and of course substructures involves, I just need to reiterate that substructures involves any other item that is from the finished original ground level downwards. That would include items like basements and so on, but for now we are not going to into that more complicated one. We'll start from the basic concept. I will repeat that the most important thing in what we are learning in terms of the measurements and estimation is what we call the concept. Once you have that right, then you are very much better placed to continue and tackle any other drawing, despite the complexity that it comes with. So this is the plan. Of course, from this plan there are those items that you need to take note of. Normally, in your interpretation number one, of course you'll be given a plan. So when you are given a plan, how do you go about it in terms of how do you start? Where you start depends on what you need, and what you need is exactly dependent on what you know, and that is why we got to learn about the rules. Okay, so from the rules we were able to learn the items that are necessary. So for instance, when you have the plan, you need to know what you're looking for in that plan so that you start. And from the onset, when you have it, depending on the instructions, maybe you've visited the site, or just a list of instructions given to you that there are this number of trees here and there. How do you go about that? Okay, and of course we are also going to rely on this to have our interpretation of the strip footing. So we'll also put this into use, see how to interpret it, and move on. The first concept that you need to learn from what we are talking about today, that I'll just use simple comments to show what we are talking about today. So the very first one is that you need to learn that from this point, that is what we call the masonry block. And for the masonry block, when you relate it to the footing detail, you need to understand that the face of that masonry block, okay, the one that we are looking at, the masonry block, the external face of that masonry block is what has been represented here. But then this is a section. Okay, this is what we call a section of the footing. So we just note that. Okay, section of the footing. So from this section, the whole of it is a section, as it's shown here, the whole of this. So from this section, you need to understand that the outside face of it, that is from this point, the outside face here, where I've drawn using the darker pencil. From the outside face is where we have, when you refer to the plan, that is now the external face that has been shown on the plan. A plan is what you are able to interpret while looking at an aerial view of that given surface. That said, we are going to start from the taking off. So we'll just have, the first thing that you can always indicate is you indicate the title. Of course, you will denote that this is a project from here and here. This is what is indicated, so that you start from that given point. So when we need to indicate our plan, the indication of identification of the project, it's so crucial because projects are quite a number. You have to indicate which one are you dealing with, or which one are you measuring at any particular point. So in that case, you have to do what we call writing the title. When you want to indicate the title, where do you get it? From the plan. So you need to make your reference from the plan that you've been given. So unless the instructions are indicated somewhere, then you need to know that from this plan, when you check in most cases, when you check at the bottom or at the right corner, you will always find project title indicated. If you don't find it there, then maybe the title bar is at the bottom of the drawing. But then for this that we are using, the title has been indicated to the right. So check to the right, check the information, the details of the project that you're dealing with. Okay, it's so important because as a quantity surveyor, you are heading to pricing your bills of quantities, giving the costs that is possible that the project can possibly cost. So before you get there, you need to know, because the unit rates that we'll be using, of course, we shall see later on how to arrive to those at those unit rates. Then you'll be able to appreciate the fact that the unit rate has constituents. For instance, materials, labor, transport, and so on. Transport is a factor that I'm talking about here. Indication or the location where the project is will determine how much you will quote for a given project. Okay, and also for identification purposes, maybe for approvals and so on, indication of the title, the location is very, very crucial. So you check your right hand side corner or at the bottom, you'll get the title of the project. Once you have the title, then you go to your dimension paper and identify what you have. Okay, so that one is stating proposed residential development for just confirm what you have. It's at this part, residential bungalow for QS Buxton. You indicate everything to detail. Okay, yeah, proposed residential bungalow for QS Buxton. Of course, in every detail or the identification of the project, there is can always indicate the client there, and as well the location. That is just the basis of the few details that you need to find when indicating identifying that particular project. Okay, for QS Buxton on plot number, of course, now that is now the actual location where whatever that you are talking about, that development is situated. Okay, on plot number LR, just state everything that is there. 33567 33/567. Okay, Buxton, Mombasa. Buxton, Mombasa. So this cuts across. It applies to any other project that you have. Always, if it's not at the title page, of course, we'll also see when we come to build now bills of quantities on the Excel sheet. You always provide a page for the title page where you indicate the name of the project, location of the project. Very, very crucial. That said, so after you've indicated that, then it's always also very crucial that you indicate the items that you are going to deal with in the estimation. Okay, just state for the scope of estimation that I'm going to deal with item 1, item 2, item 3, and so on. So that brings us to you identifying what you have. Okay, so for our scope today, we are dealing with the part that we call substructures. Okay, so we are dealing with substructures. So for the substructures, it's always indicated to be all provisional. And in the previous sessions, I remember well, I stated that all provisional for substructures has a meaning. And just to reiterate the same, normally whenever you are talking about substructures, items that you're dealing with are meant to be they are deemed to be provisional, because they are subject to change once the implementation of that project is on site. That is the meaning of that that phrase or that term, all provisional, and it's so crucial that you indicate that. So the next item, the next thing that you will talk about is you indicating which items are you dealing with. Okay, what are you measuring, or what's the scope of what you need to measure? So that brings us to what we call a taking off list, or you can call it, if you like, item list or a trade order and so on. You can call it trade order, you can call it item list, whichever name that you'd wish to refer it to, as long as you are integrating a list of the items that you need to measure or to talk about. So at item 1, when you look at the plan, of course it's you to decide from that given plan, what are the items, what are the possible items that you need to work out. Okay, which are the possible items that you need to measure. So when you have a plan as this, you don't have so much information, but at the back of your mind, you know that there are those that you'll need to do by assumption, okay, based on what you've learned with the time. Of course, there are those that are going to be indicated in an instruction, maybe attached elsewhere. Okay, so those are the things that you need to refer to. So for our assumption today, we are going to assume over and above what is possible. Okay, basing on our comprehensive taking off list for the substructures which we had built, because we need to cover as much as possible, and whenever that any other item is provided, maybe later on in a different project, you are able to find it easier to work on that item without any difficulty. So we are going to borrow from these taking off list that we have, and of course do our measurement based on assumptions for most of them, because you can see the instructions that are given there are not very much comprehensive. So the way it's listed here, this is what we are going to follow. So at item 1, we are going to just talk about cutting trees at item 1. Item 2, we just follow what is here. We talk about site clearance. Okay, site clearance. Then item 3, we are going to talk about oversight excavation. Okay, then we talk about item number 4, just listing what we have here. We've said oversight excavation. Then we go to mass excavation. Okay, so there are items, for instance, let's just we'll skip the mass excavation. Of course, we'll look at it in our more comprehensive coverage of a more detailed one. And the reason is when we've done, these are simple projects, and we're assuming that the site is a stable one, where after we've done the topsoil stripping, then whatever is remaining is one that is at the best or is reduced level as reached, where you can just continue with construction as you should. Then the next, we go to the trench excavation. Trench excavation, that is at number 4. Trench excavation. Then let's see what we cover next. Okay, after the trench excavation, then we go to excavation for column pits. So today we won't go through we won't cover the excavation for column pits. That is also going to be on our later coverage, so we just indicate that it will be on our later coverage, where we'll be doing a more complex drawing with the bases and so on. So we'll skip that. That is number 6. Then we'll go to excavating in rock. We'll also assume that we have some rock. Okay, so this is excavating in rock. We'll allow for the same. Also we'll measure it for our coverage. And then the next item we'll talk about is excavating in rock, excavation for pits, that we skipped. Then we'll measure the two items, that is disposal of water and planking and strutting. We'll talk about the same. We'll talk about that as well. So the two items, okay, we can just indicate them as keeping excavations, there is a typo there, excavations free from water. And then at number 7 we'll talk about planking and strutting. Okay, then we'll go to item number 8. Item number 8 would be planking and strutting. Then we'll go to concrete works. So from the concrete works we'll talk about items like blinding at item 1, then concrete footing. So those ones we'll cover. So we go to we'll go to item 8. Then we do concrete blinding. We'll cover that as well. Then at item number 9 is concrete footing. At number 10, after we've done footing, then we'll also do leave alone the column pad and the bases, leave alone the stub columns. We'll also do ground beams, no. Concrete bed, so we'll do the concrete bed. Okay, we'll do the concrete bed stroke slab. Just talk about concrete slab. Then item 11, let's see, item 11, what else do we have? Reinforcement bars. We'll not do reinforcement bars for our session today, but we'll do BRC DPM also. We'll do BRC. Then we'll do also DPM that we've said. Number 13, let's see what we cover next. DPM. Then we'll do formwork. Okay, of course, formwork to the items that we've measured for the concrete, and that is formwork to sides of footing. And then 14 we'll do formwork to edges of the slab. Then number 15, let's see what we have. We'll do walling, substructure walling. Then we do bonding. Okay, we'll do substructure walling. Then we do at number 16, we do a bit of bonding. We talk about that. Then at number 17, let's see what else is there. We've talked about bonding. Then we'll do DPC, that is the dam proof course. We'll also talk about that. Yeah, we'll cover DPC as well. Then number 18, we'll cover okay, DPC we've talked about. We'll cover backfilling. Yes, backfilling to sides of excavation. Backfilling to sides of excavation. Okay, then we'll go to number 19 and see what next. Yes, leave alone number 28. Then we'll go to hardcore bed filling. Yes, we'll go to hardcore bed filling. Then another one would be at number 20 is foam sinking. Now we leave that side. Then we go to surface treatment. That is talking about maram blinding and then insecticide treatment. Yes, we'll go to we'll cover maram blinding, and then we'll also cover insecticide treatment. Then number 22, let's see. Number 22, we talked about insecticide treatment. Then we'll go to finishes. That is plastering to plinths and then painting. We go to finishes to plinths. Okay, we just straight on. That is let's talk about plastering to plinths, and then we'll go to, that is painting to plinths. So that is the comprehensive list that we have, which we are going to use to cover our session, the rest of the session that is left. So this is what we need to rely on. That said, then what else? How do we go about it? So straight on, we start with, for instance, we start with the part that what we've stated, that is cutting trees. Of course, we are using the traditional estimation method, so we'll just go through it in terms of, from the plan. Of course, we've checked the plan; it's not indicated, so it means the instruction is somewhere. So we are going to do the estimation, and of course do the what we call now the description, how you do the bracketing, so that today you are able to learn those items that we've been just talking about in theoretical basis, now on the actual way that it should be done. So without even much time waste, we'll just go straight to what we are talking about. So we'll start to measure. So for instance, trees are measured in numbers. Okay, so if trees are measured in numbers, then we need to know the identification, or how the trees have been done, or what is available for us to measure for the trees. So in this case, if they are measured in numbers, then the number that you're always allowed to write here is for instance is 1. Okay, but then depending on the identification, so if there are 2, if you have like 2 number trees, then you'll indicate only 1, and once you do that, then you are going to underline. Okay, you are going to underline this all through. That underlining means that you've already measured it. But then assuming that you have like how many trees, you have like 4 number of trees. Okay, then you will do what we call the timesing. Just indicate there and write the number of trees that you have. For instance, we've talked about 3 number of trees. Okay, so you write the 3 in that part. So that means you've already done 3 number. Just do 1 and then indicate the 3. Okay, after that, then you make your description just alongside. Okay, make your description And for you to do that, just indicate alongside what you have here. No, that is not what I needed. This is the one that I want. Okay, so you'll make your description, and it goes, for instance, cut down trees, girth exceeding 600 millimeters but not exceeding 900 millimeters. Okay, so this means you've already measured the tree, and when you're just in case you are joining this session for the first time, we had already indicated the rules. So that means you'll always just refer. If you need more of the references, then you can make to our previous discussions. Then you will see that trees are measured in numbers. That is item 1. Okay, so the numbers, how do you indicate the numbers? We've done so by just having it as 1. Okay, that is the dimension. That is 1 times 3 number, and then you do your description just on the side, and that they are always measured in stages of 300 millimeters. So that is how you talk about, that is how you indicate what you are talking about in terms of the measurement. So this is the rule that is applicable. So how do you, and the way we've reflected the same rule in our measurement is as shown in what we've just done by entering the dimensions and all that. Then you need to do what we call bracketing. Okay, and when you need to bracket, then this is what it means. Okay, so that is the bracketing, in the sense that you've done your measurement, and then you've done your description and the alongside, and then you do what you call bracketing, to mean you are describing what is on this other side. So the this is item, the part where we have the description is the part for the waist, where you indicate your description. You can do your calculations and any other item that you require to indicate, and of course the dimension has been done that side quite clearly. So that is how you handle it, depending on whichever number of trees that you have. This is where you need to indicate it, and once you have that clearly shown, then you have done it properly as it's required. Good. So you just indicate cutting trees. That is item 1. Well done. You move to item 2 straight away. Okay, so it's as straight as such, and it's similar that you indicated you are taking off list, because you need to follow it, or you need to indicate to make sure that the items that you have, you've not forgotten any of them. So once you've done one, you go to the next. Once you've done the second one, you go to the next. Okay, yes, that is the reason why you need to always indicate your item list. So at item number 2, we are going to talk about site clearance. Okay, so at item 1, we talked about just at the title, we talked about cutting trees. Okay, and of course we've done the description, and everything there looks quite good. And we move to, of course, after this, then you just underline what you have, or what you've measured. So once you have that, then you go to second item. Second item, as I've noted, is talking about site clearance. Okay, so for the site clearance, just indicate the space that you have, that we are talking about site clearance. Okay, so once your site clearance is done, not really. Yes, once your site clearance is done, you underline. Just try to be as orderly as possible. You underline site clearance, and then of course now in site clearance there are a few calculations that you will need to do before arriving to the quantities. Okay, So talking about site clearance, this is what we mean, or when you have gone to site, of course, when you can see from the previous, just at the background, you are able to notice a forest or a bush, okay, and you are expected that when you have that, then you need to clear the site and get the site where you can work on. So that is what we mean by site clearance. And site clearance does not only refer to items like bushes or scrubs and so on. It implies to any other item which is on site where it's not needed there. So even if you have a house that is on site where you need to build another house, then you will clear it up by demolishing it. So any other item that is on site where it's not supposed to be, then it's what is meant by the term site clearance. Yes, it's important that we understand these terms so that moving on, we have easier time when we are describing any other item, or when you find that now you don't have bushes but instead you have a house that is not supposed to be that place. So how do you go about that? Okay, so that is the meaning of this one here. So when you talk about site clearance, you talk about any item on site that is not necessary. So it's as simple as such. Any item that you need to remove from the site, that is what you meant by site clearance. So we'd like to see what we need. Of course, we know that it's done in square meters. We need now to see on that particular site, what is it that you need to work on. So let's continue. Site clearance, this is what you have. Of course, you make your reference to the plan that was given to you to take off or to measure. So how do you go about it? Okay, this plan is not a perfect plan or a perfect rectangle, as it would be in most cases for the houses that you will be dealing with in many cases. Okay, so how do you talk about, or how do you measure this? So you need to understand the areas that are necessary. Okay, areas that are necessary for you to measure. Okay, so we'll just see areas that you'll need to talk about. So of course a reference is made to this strip footing. It's important that you understand that what we have in terms of the plan is up to the external face of this footing of the wall. But then at the clearance time, of course the rule tells us that we need to measure net, but at the clearance time you will be going up to the external spread. Okay, and when I talk about external spread, this is this part here is what I'm talking about. Let me see. Okay, so this is what we are talking about by the external spread. So at that time, then this is where you need the extent that you need to measure. Okay, so it means that you will consider the spread. The footing is 600 millimeters, and even from the on look you can see that spread is sitting at the center of the strip footing. So in that case, then it means that 600, then you subtract that given wall. So first case, you need to get the lengths. Okay, you first need to get lengths. So that is what you calculate. Okay, so you get length and the width. Okay, can talk about the length of this particular plan. So how do you get the length? Of course, when you're getting the length, I've told you that it's important that you understand the extent of the dimensions. So from the dimension here, it's indicated that you have from one end to the other. Okay, let me just indicate by my pencil again. So you need to include the spread. Okay, you need to include the spread. So that means you will include this, the whole of this dimension, the whole of the dimension here, but then you add the spreads so that you get the total length. That is what is going to give you the total length. Okay, that is the extent. But then you will now add spreads on either side, on one side, and then spread on the other side. The same case is applied to the width as well. Okay, so normally it's important that you can always apply to this particular plan, in the sense that let me use this other one to show it even better. So the area that we are required to work on, okay, the area that we are required to work on. So I'll just show using these other. So for instance, you need to work on this plan. So just by indication. So this one is showing you the extent, where you are indicating including even the spreads. Okay, so this is the extent that you are expected to do that particular area, but then it's not shown straight away on the plan. So that means you'll need to make adjustments. So this is how it's looking like. Of course, you can see the initial plan is within, but then for the one that you're now applying to is including even the external spread. Okay, so we need to adjust those dimensions. But how do we do that? That is the big question. So for us to achieve what we are talking about in terms of the measurement, then you consider at the length you'll add these dimensions. Okay, of course, being that it's an irregular shape, then it's important that we can consider it fully, the whole plan, and make adjustments by subtracting the parts which are not supposed to be part of this plan later on. It's better to do it that way than subdividing it into smaller parts. Okay, so that is the direction that we are going to follow for our measurement. So we'll just have, for the length, let's calculate that length and see what we have. So it's 10 point, we'll start from here, 0.2 plus 10.8. So normally when you are measuring here, you can always use millimeters. That is option 1, or you can use meters, but then it's advisable that you use millimeters. That is what I recommend. Then 10.8 is 10,800. Of course, you have to consider that in terms of your arrangement, it's very, very important that you remain orderly and be able to indicate your plans or your dimensions well. So 200, 10,800, then 200, and then 5,600. Okay, so the next is 200, and then we have 5,600, and then 200. So we just confirm that from 10,800 we have 200, then 5,600, then 200. So that is how you need to have them. Of course, you do your you make sure that your arrangement is making sense from the on look, that you've arranged your dimensions well. So we've decided to do this, and then from this particular part, Then we are going to do what we call we are going to add the spreads. Okay, so we are going to add spreads. Okay, just let's arrange them well. So we add spreads. So for us to add spreads, how do you get those spreads that we are talking about? You go to the detail. Okay, you go to the detail, the spread footing detail, and then you take 600 minus the wall, then you divide by 2. Okay, 600 minus the wall, then you divide by 2. That is how you get your spreads. So we can just do that calculation here. That will be 600, then we subtract 600 less 200. Okay, that's going to give us 400, but then the 400 you now divide by 2. Okay, that gives us a spread of 200. So once you have the spread to be 200, and then you are applying that 200 on either side. Okay, on side 1 and then also on side 2. So that said, then I emphasize that you need to have your dimensions properly arranged. Okay, it's going to be very, very crucial that you have them properly arranged. So you can have all these taken to one end. Okay, so we have that as 200, then we have that in that particular manner. Okay, and then the spread that we are talking about is now going to be, so we have the total. So we can just get this total, we add this, and then we add the spreads on at the bottom. Okay, so we have that, and what else is here? We go to this and add. Okay, so let's see. The other one was not that. Okay. So we'll add 200 plus 10,800, that is 11,000. 11,200 plus 5,600. So you just add that as straight away as you can. 11,000 plus 200 plus 5,600 plus 200. Okay, so that brings us to 17,000. Okay, so 17,000 becomes the length without the footing. We haven't added the footing. So once you add the footing, that is now where we are doing the spreads. And the spreads, how you got that is by getting the total spread width less 200, and then you divide by divided by 2. Okay, so we have 200, but then now it's 17 plus 200 times 2. So 200 you can indicate times 2, and then the total is 400. So we are adding the spread of 400 to 17, and when we do that, just underline this properly as such. Okay, and then get now the total that you have is now going to be 17,400 for your total for your total length. Okay, so that becomes the total length inclusive of when we have adjusted it. We've adjusted it for the spread. Okay, then now the next bit, we are now going to calculate the width using the same principle, and then we now get our total area for the site clearance. So for now, we'd like to pause the session there. Now the next part of also this session is going to cover where we are now making we are now doing the width for this particular site that we have, and then get the total area that is required for the site clearance. So that was comprehensive enough. Please, if you watched up to this point, thank you very much. I would urge you that you make a subscription to it, so that you grow and also get this content as clear as I would like to explain to you, so that you also benefit from them as much as possible. So thank you very much for being a member of this channel. And also, if you have personalized teaching sessions that you like us to do, it goes from as low as $20. It has never been that easy, or it has never been that cheap. So if you want such, just reach me out, and the details are there. Just go to my description. You will find the description there. You'll find the contact. You'll find the email address, and reach me. I will always create time at your most convenient one, so that we meet. We have the session that you are going to like so much. So thank you. Tune in to the next session that is bringing for you now the width and the rest of coverage for them, the rest of the items that are remaining. So thank you very much. Stay tuned and have a great one. Bye bye.